Hello there, beautiful people. Let's see if I can press record and do this rant again. So I got this reverse King of Wands today, which part of the work that I do and I teach is about taking cards and really owning them and really using this to in our process of shadow work. So there's all sorts of stories that I could wax lyrical about as far as this king is concerned, because he's the twisted king of fire and that very masculine energy, which is outgoing out there and yet a little bit ego-centered, a little bit narcissistic, and a bit of a manipulating type story. But this manipulator dynamic, which this king represents, is it's a part of us, and it's inside of us, and we kind of tend to demonize in it sometimes, because it's, especially when it becomes exaggerated, and somebody out there in the world is an obviously strong narcissist who's like throwing out their ego in all sorts of different ways and being really selfish. But it's really important to avoid that judgmental nature, because we all have these qualities inside of us, and this is because the ego is what it is, and we really haven't learned to live without it. Nor do we need to, but the ego does need to be understood. It does need to be recognized, and we don't need to let that be the boss that decides how we create and what we create. Because this reverse king inside of me is the competitive part of us. It's that competitive part of us that wants to run around and be the greatest, to run around and stand number one on the podium. And in order to prove that I'm the best manifester in the world, I need to have this and that and the other, and this is the judgment, or this is the judgment of my success. And life has taught us a bunch of these things, and the ego grabs this and kind of likes that, because it creates a lot of separation. It creates an inner division as well, which in the bigger picture creates a split in our personality, and it makes us feel in the longer game, it makes us feel like we're losing. It makes us feel a lack as we split different aspects of ourselves. And I'm speaking about the split because when we want to be the greatest, there's this underlying nature of that means I'm greater than somebody. So if I'm number one on the podium, then number two and number three are not as great as me. And this is a separation dynamic. Even if it's just with ourselves, where, hey, I'm so much better and greater than I was last year. And I find myself thinking these things sometimes, But this is the ego who just wants to separate ourselves and judge ourselves according to some timeline and say, look, I was so less conscious there, less aware, less true to myself then. And I'm judging my past, and the past has to be accepted, in a non-judgmental way. Yes, we need to recognize truths, and we need to recognize progression, we need to recognize growth and all of those stories. But this greatest dynamic, which this king's ego grabs inside of us, is not as true to the wand as it could be. The wand just wants you to feel greatness. A greatness which doesn't really make you better than any other version of yourself. It just is you reflecting truth in a purer way. You reflecting your truth, but the truth of life, the truth of spirit in a better way. And it's sufficient to feel just great, even though you might not even be on the podium, because this is an ego podium. This is an ego competition which has a judgment effect to it. And greatness asks us to go a little bit beyond judgment sometimes, so that our success isn't measured by those constraints that the ego puts on the world. And if we're not the best influencers with the most million of followers and the greatest financial success, and we've got all these things and all this stuff, and I'm the top G whatever in my field, life has told us that these are the measurements of success. And yet our true success comes with the peace that we can find when we follow our hearts. And it's not about necessarily needing the world to tell us how much of a wonderful inspiration we are to it, and our worth be judged by that inspirational influence that we have upon life. It's enough to be an inspiration to ourselves, and it's more important to be able to be that influence, that great inspirational influence to ourselves, and to motivate ourselves. Because in those moments that we're on our own, which is most of the time, that's the most important part of our relationship. And whether we try to or not, whether we intend to or not, that will be, in the end, one of the greatest influences upon the world. Now, if we've managed that really well, and then the world gets influenced by it, then yeah, we will see that the world will mirror how good we feel. But then the ego will grab that quite quickly and make us feel like the special ones. And being special or being powerful, like the wand wants us to really manipulate the power that the wand holds, that fire, that creativity. And in order to really be creative in a way, we have to get over that need to be special and just feel the specialness that's inherent inside of it. And and not judge ourselves, but recognize that if we can stay connected to our hearts, and whatever that means on a personal level, it has to mean something. But if we can find that meaning and hold on to it and stay true to it, then it's like the need to be recognized as special disappears, because we feel real. And when you feel real, there's not a lack of specialness, that there's not that emptiness that needs to be filled. And yeah, maybe this is one of the biggest messages of this king today. Love to hear your comments. This is my little rant of the day.